Hello, dear students. Welcome back in class 9th chemistry. Students, I hope that you all are safe and sound at your homes. Today, we are going to start a new chapter, chapter 3 Atoms and Molecules. In today's lecture of this chapter, we will learn in detail about discovery of atom, laws of chemical combination, which involves law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportion, and postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. Students, as you know, all substances which we find around us are composed of different kinds of matter. Ancient Indian and Greek philosophers have always wondered about the unknown and unseen form of matter. The idea of divisibility of matter was considered long back in India, around 500 BC. An Indian philosopher, Maharishi Kannad, postulated that if we go on dividing matter, that is padarth, for example clay, we shall get smaller and smaller particles. Ultimately, a time will come when we shall come across the smallest particle beyond which further division will not be possible. He named these particles Parmanu. Similarly, another Indian philosopher, Pakuda Katiyama, accepted this idea and elaborated this doctrine or principle and said that these smallest particles that are Parmanu normally combine to form various forms of matter. In this way, Indian philosopher Maharishi Kannad and Pakuda Katiyama gave us idea that matter is made up of smallest unit called Parmanu. Around the same era, that is 18th century, ancient Greek philosopher Democritus and his teacher Leucippus suggested that if we go on dividing matter, a stage will come when particles obtained cannot be divided further. This time, Democritus called these indivisible particle atoms, meaning indivisible. The word atom comes from Greek word atomos, means uncuttable or indivisible, means which cannot be further divided. Students, all this was based on philosophical concentration and not much experimental work was done to prove these ideas till the 18th century. So students, now I hope that you have understood who said matter is made up of smallest particles called Parmanu. Yes, you are right. These are two Indian philosophers, Maharishi Kannad and Pakuda Katiyama. And who said matter is made up of smallest particles called atoms? Yes, you are again right. These are two Greek philosophers, Democritus and Leucippus. Students, you have learnt in detail about physical as well as chemical classification of matter. According to physical classification, matter has three states, that are solid, liquid and gaseous states. The chemical classification deals with elements, compounds and mixtures. We know that chemical compounds are formed as a result of combination of elements. So, by the end of 18th century, the scientists recognized the difference between elements and compounds, and they wanted to know how and why elements combine and what happens when they combine. To know about this, many researches were carried out by various scientists. Then they came to conclusion that these chemical combinations are based on some laws. These are known as laws of chemical combination. Antoine L. Lavoisier laid the foundation of chemical sciences by establishing two important laws of chemical combination. One, law of conservation of mass, and second, law of constant or definite proportions. These two laws of chemical combination were established after much experimentation by Antoine and Lavoisier and Joseph L. Proust. Now let us see the first law of chemical combination, that is law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass states that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. Students, see in this chemical reaction, carbon burns in presence of oxygen and forms carbon dioxide. The substances that take part in chemical reaction are called reactants, which are written on the left hand side of this arrow, and the substance formed as a result of chemical reaction are called products, which are written on the right hand side of this arrow. In this chemical equation, you can see that 12 grams of carbon reacts with 32 grams of oxygen and forms 44 grams of carbon dioxide as product. If you add the masses of these two reactants on the left hand side of this arrow, you see the total mass of the reactants comes out to be 44 grams, which is equal to the mass of the product formed, that is 44 grams. So mass of the product formed is equal to the mass of the reactant, or mass of the reactant is equal to mass of the product. So according to this law of conservation of mass, there is no loss or gain in the mass during a chemical change or chemical reaction. So this proves the law of conservation of mass, that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during a chemical reaction. This law is valid or true for all types of chemical reactions except nuclear reactions. Let us explain law of conservation of mass with the help of an activity. To perform this activity, we can take any one set of chemicals given here and arrange the apparatus as shown in this diagram. To see the demonstration of this activity, let's watch the video on activity of law of conservation of mass.
The law of conservation of mass. We require measuring cylinders, barium chloride solution, sodium sulfate solution, conical flask, cork, 10 ml test tube, and an electronic balance. Measure 5 ml of sodium sulfate solution in a measuring cylinder. Pour it into a conical flask. Measure 5 ml of barium chloride solution in another measuring cylinder. Pour it into a 10 ml test tube. Tie the test tube using a thread and hang the test tube in a conical flask carefully so that the solutions do not mix with each other. Cork the conical flask so that the thread holding the test tube is firmly held in place. Take the conical flask and carefully weigh the flask on an electronic balance with all the contents, ensuring that the solutions do not mix, and note the reading. Take the flask from the balance, tilt it and swirl the flask so that barium chloride solution in the test tube spills and mixes with sodium sulfate solution in the flask and forms a white colored precipitate of barium sulfate BaSO4 and an aqueous solution of sodium chloride NaCl. Wait for 10 minutes to complete the reaction. The precipitate of barium sulfate settles down to the bottom of the flask. Weigh the contents of the flask again and note down the reading. It will be observed that the total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the products. Hence, the law of conservation of mass is verified.
So students, in this short video, you have seen that this activity proves the law of conservation of mass. Now see one question based on law of conservation of mass given in science textbook on page 32 of chapter 3 as blueprint question. See in this question, in a reaction, 5.3 grams of sodium carbonate reacted with 6 grams of ethanoic acid. The products were 2.2 grams of carbon dioxide, 0.9 grams of water and 8.2 grams of sodium ethanoate. Show that these observations are in agreement with law of conservation of mass. First of all, frame the chemical equation for this reaction. According to this reaction, sodium carbonate reacts with ethanoic acid. What is the mass of sodium carbonate? 5.3 grams of sodium carbonate reacts with 6 grams of ethanoic acid, which are written as the reactants on the left hand side of this arrow, and forms 2.2 grams of carbon dioxide, 0.9 grams of water and 8.2 grams of sodium ethanoate as products, which are written on the right hand side of this arrow. If you add the masses of both the reactants, that is 5.3 grams of sodium carbonate and 6 grams of ethanoic acid, the mass of the reactants comes out to be 11.3 grams. Now, if you add 2.2 grams of carbon dioxide, 0.9 grams of water and 8.2 grams of sodium ethanoate, on adding, you will find the mass of the products comes out to be 11.3 grams. So you can see that the total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the products formed during this chemical reaction. So there is no loss or gain in the mass as a result of this chemical reaction. Thus, the total mass remains conserved. So this is in agreement with law of conservation of mass. Students, now let us see the second law of chemical combination, that is law of constant or definite proportion. Antoine and Lavoisier, along with other scientists like Joseph L. Proust, noted that many compounds were composed of two or more elements, and each such compound had the same elements in same proportion irrespective of where the compound came from or who prepared it. For example, in a compound such as water, hydrogen and oxygen are always present in ratio 1:8 by mass, whatever the source or the method by which water is obtained, whether it is obtained in the solid form like in ice form or in liquid form like in water, and water may come from ponds, lakes, or your tap water or drain water, or it is in the gas state like in steam, it always comes out to be H2O. In this water molecule, you see there are 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Here you must know the mass of given atoms. Students, with practice you will learn at least mass of first 20 elements in this chapter. So you need not to worry about. Generally, masses of atoms are given in the numerical statements. Otherwise, with practice or repetitions, you will easily learn the atomic masses of some important atoms. For example, here the atomic mass of hydrogen, that is 1U, and atomic mass of oxygen, that is 16U, is given. So to find the ratio by mass, what do? We multiply the total number of atoms of the given element with their atomic masses and calculate the simplest whole number ratio. For example, here in this water molecule, there are two hydrogen atoms. This 2 means two hydrogen atoms. Multiply by its atomic mass, that is 1U, and here 1 means 1 atom of oxygen multiplied by its atomic mass 16. So the ratio comes to be 2:16, and the simplest whole ratio comes out to be 1:8. It means that 1 gram of hydrogen always combines with 8 grams of oxygen to form 9 grams of one molecule of water. Let us see one more example. The example of ammonia, whose chemical formula is NH3. In ammonia NH3, nitrogen and hydrogen are always present in ratio 14:3 by mass, whatever the method or source by which ammonia is obtained. Let us see how this ratio by mass is calculated in ammonia. Students, tell me how many nitrogen atoms are present in NH3. You can see there is one nitrogen atom, and how many hydrogen atoms are present? You can see there are 3 hydrogen atoms, so we write 3 here. And what is the atomic mass of hydrogen? That is 1U. And what is the atomic mass of nitrogen? That is 14U. So multiply one nitrogen atom with its atomic mass 14 and 3 atoms of hydrogen with its atomic mass 1. So the simple whole number ratio comes out to be 14:3. Let us practice with one more example and take the example of carbon dioxide, whose chemical formula is CO2. In carbon dioxide, carbon and oxygen are always present in ratio 3:8 by mass, whatever the method or source by which it is obtained. Means whether it is released when you exhale the air, that is carbon dioxide, or it is released during the combustion of petrol, diesel, wood, plastic, etc. Always the formula of carbon dioxide will be CO2. Now students, tell me how many carbon atoms are there in CO2? Yes, it is one carbon atom. And how many atoms of oxygen are there in carbon dioxide? Yes, 2 oxygen atoms. Now tell me, what is the atomic mass of carbon? Yes, it is 12U. And what is the atomic mass of oxygen? Yes, it is 16U. Now multiply one carbon atom with its atomic mass 12 and 2 atoms of oxygen with its atomic mass 16. You will see the ratio will be 12:32, means 12 ones are 12 and 16 twos are 32. So the ratio comes out to be 12:32. Now find the simplest whole number ratio, and it comes out to be 3:8. So in carbon dioxide, carbon and oxygen are always present in ratio 3:8 by mass, whatever the method or source by which it is obtained. This led to the law of constant proportion, which is also known as law of definite proportion. This law was stated by Joseph L. Proust. According to law of constant or definite proportion, in a chemical substance, the elements are always present in definite proportion by mass. And you have seen these examples. So, in the exams, if you are asked to write or to define or to state law of constant or definite proportion, you write the definition and explain with the help of these examples. Let us see one more question. Question number 2, given on page number 33 of chapter 3 in your science textbook. Based on law of constant proportion, hydrogen and oxygen combine in ratio 1:8 by mass to form water. What mass of oxygen will require to react completely with 3 grams of hydrogen? So you can see that in H2O, hydrogen and oxygen are present in 1:8 by mass. You have seen that how to calculate ratio by mass in H2O, water molecule. And according to question, what mass of oxygen is needed to react completely with 3 grams of hydrogen? So let us see. Mass of oxygen combines with 1 gram of hydrogen is 8 grams, and mass of oxygen combines with 3 grams of hydrogen is 8 multiplied by 3 is equal to 24 grams. It means 24 grams of oxygen are required to combine with or to react with 3 grams of hydrogen atom. Now let us see one more question given in back exercise of this chapter on page 45 in your science textbook based on laws of chemical combinations. A 0.24 gram sample of compound of oxygen and boron was found by analysis to contain 0.096 grams of boron and 0.144 grams of oxygen. Calculate the percentage composition of the compound by weight. Students, first we write the data given in this question. What is given? Mass of sample of compound of oxygen and boron. What is the mass? 0.24 grams. And what is the mass of boron present in this sample? 0.096 gram. It is given. And what is the mass of oxygen in the compound given? That is 0.144 gram. Now how can we calculate the percentage of boron present in the sample of this compound of oxygen and boron? What you do? You have to divide mass of boron by mass of compound and multiply it by 100 as you normally calculate your percentage. That marks obtained divided by total marks multiplied by 100. Same case here. If you find the percentage of boron in this compound, what you have to do? You have to write mass of boron upon mass of compound multiplied by 100. So what is the mass of boron given? 0.096 gram divided by what is the total mass of the compound? 0.24 multiplied by 100. So it comes out to be 40%. It means what is the percentage of boron in the compound? 40%. You can simply calculate the percentage of oxygen just by subtracting 40% from 100. It comes out to be 60%. Or you can calculate the percentage of oxygen by the same way as you have calculated the percentage of boron, that is by dividing mass of oxygen by mass of compound and multiply it with 100. So what is the mass of oxygen given? 0.144 divided by mass of compound, that is 0.24 multiplied by 100, and it comes out to be 60%. So what is the percentage of boron in this compound? 40%. What is the percentage of oxygen in this compound? That is 60%. Now students, let us see one more question. Question number 2 given on page 45 of chapter 3 in your science textbook. When 3 grams of carbon is burnt in 8 grams of oxygen, 11 grams of carbon dioxide is produced. What mass of carbon dioxide will be formed when 3 grams of carbon is burnt in 50 grams of oxygen? Which law of chemical combination will govern your answer? Students, first of all, write the chemical equation according to this question, that 3 grams of carbon is burnt in 8 grams of oxygen and forms 11 grams of carbon dioxide. It is given. And now the question is, what mass of carbon dioxide will be formed if 3 grams of carbon burns with 50 grams of oxygen? Students, you have seen in law of constant proportion, in one molecule of carbon dioxide, carbon and oxygen are always present in ratio 3:8 by mass. It means 3 grams of carbon always needs 8 grams of oxygen only to burn completely and produce 11 grams of carbon dioxide. Hence, in this case also, although 50 grams of oxygen are available, but 3 grams of carbon will always require 8 grams of oxygen to form 11 grams of carbon dioxide. Hence, 50 minus 8 is equal to 42 grams of oxygen will be left unreacted. Carbon will take only 8 grams of oxygen and 42 grams of oxygen will remain unreacted. So this answer is governed by law of constant proportion, which states that in chemical compound the constituent elements are always combined in same fixed proportion by mass. Now let us do Dalton's atomic theory. Students, British chemist John Dalton provided the basic theory about the nature of matter known as Dalton's atomic theory. Dalton picked up the basic idea of divisibility of matter, which was till then just a philosophy. He took the name atoms as given by the Greek philosophers and said that the smallest particles of matter are atoms. His theory was based on the laws of chemical combination. Dalton's atomic theory provided an explanation on the law of conservation of mass and mass of constant or definite proportion. According to Dalton's atomic theory, all matter, whether an element, a compound, or a mixture, is composed of small particles called atoms. Now see various postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. Students, this question is very much important from examination point of view. Let us see first postulate. All matter is made up of very tiny particles called atoms. 2. Atoms are indivisible particles which cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. On this postulate, the law of conservation of mass is based. 3. Atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. 4. Atoms of different elements have different masses and chemical properties. For example, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. These are different elements, and atoms of these different elements have different masses and chemical properties. For example, the mass of carbon atom is different from mass of hydrogen, and properties of carbon atom is different from properties of hydrogen atom. 5. Atoms combine in ratio of small whole numbers to form compounds, as you have seen in law of constant proportions. 6. The relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. About this you have already learnt in law of constant proportion. Now students, let us see the two questions based on Dalton's atomic theory and given as blueprint question on page 33 of this chapter. Question number 3. Which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory is the result of law of conservation of mass? Students, you have seen the second postulate of Dalton's atomic theory is the result of law of conservation of mass that states atoms cannot be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. See question number 4. Which postulate of Dalton's atomic theory can explain the law of definite proportions? Postulate 5 and 6 tells the law of definite proportion, that is atoms combine in the ratio of small whole numbers to form compounds, and the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. So students, this is all for today's lecture. Thank you and have a nice day.